Everyone's watching the World Cup quarter-finals, but there's a game in Brazil that could send a historic club into freefall. This week, Haaland versus England's defence, Morocco's revenge mission, Messi's possible farewell, Belgium's last stand, and a relegation battle nobody's talking about. Let's get into it. Morocco versus France. The rematch nobody dared dream about. For France, a semi-final place and a statement. They want to prove that 2022 semi-final loss was an anomaly, not a warning. For Morocco, something far bigger, become the first African nation to reach a World Cup semi-final twice. A whole continent is watching. The storyline writes itself. Morocco in 2022 were not a fluke, they were brilliantly organized, deeply motivated, and tactically elite. Mbappé leads a revitalized France attack that has looked sharp all tournament. But Morocco's defensive block remains the best constructed low block in world football. Watch Mbappé specifically on the counter. Morocco will sit and absorb, the question is whether France can break them down before one devastating transition punishes them. Spain versus Belgium. On paper, straightforward. In reality, the most emotionally loaded game of the quarter-finals. Spain are playing fluid, relentless football, the best team in this tournament by some distance. Belgium are here to stop history repeating itself. A decade of near misses, quarter-final exits, and a generation of world-class players who never won the thing they were built to win. For several of them, this is genuinely the last chance. Desperation is its own kind of fuel. Belgium have the individual quality to hurt any team on a good day, and if they can disrupt Spain's midfield in the first 20 minutes, this becomes a real contest. Watch the opening 20 minutes. If Belgium don't win that midfield battle early, Spain's positional play will suffocate them, and the golden generation story ends quietly. Norway versus England. The game that could finally answer the Haaland question. England arrive as cautious favourites. Norway's prize is a first-ever World Cup semi-final, and the confirmation that this generation is something genuinely special. England need to silence years of knockout hurt and validate a new era of Three Lions football. But England have looked nervous in these moments for decades. And Norway have absolutely nothing to lose. Haaland has been the tournament's most destructive forward. If he scores here, the debate about the world's best player becomes impossible to have without his name at the top. Watch England's centre-back specifically. Do they sit deep and try to contain him, or press high and leave the space he was born to run into? One wrong decision and this is over. Argentina versus Switzerland. Defending champions. Potential final farewell for the greatest player who ever lived. Argentina's stakes are clear: protect the title, move Messi one step closer to the most extraordinary send-off in football history. Switzerland's stakes are equally clear: pull off the biggest upset of this tournament, eliminate the reigning world champions, and write their own chapter. Switzerland don't do sentiment. They've dismantled two fancied opponents with a ruthless high press and a goalkeeper who has been inspired throughout. They have a tactical blueprint that can genuinely work here: force turnovers in the middle third, and Messi may simply never see the ball in dangerous areas. Watch Switzerland's press trigger moments. If they win the ball high up the pitch consistently, Argentina's entire attacking structure falls apart, and sentiment won't save them. Vitoria versus Vasco da Gama. This is the one I'm telling you to find. Vitoria need the points to climb above Vasco and create some breathing room from the relegation places going into the second half of the season. Vasco need the win to put daylight between themselves and the bottom three at a moment when the table is tightening dangerously. A draw helps neither side. These aren't clubs with big budgets and safety nets. These are historic Brazilian institutions, the kind that have passionate fan bases and painful relegation scars, fighting to stay relevant at the top level. That desperation changes how these games are played. Watch the set pieces and the individual errors. Relegation battles at this level are almost never decided by tactics, they're decided by one moment of concentration that disappears under pressure. World Cup quarter-finals, a Brazilian relegation six-pointer that deserves more attention than it's getting. It's a big week. If you want the games that actually matter, not just the obvious ones, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.